Sometimes I don't.
Alan always remembers that he loves his wife Arlene, and they both love their pets. The strong bond they share has made it possible to work through the changes in Alan and in their relationship.
I was depressed because of the accident and how it had affected me, and I didn't want to be a burden. I know that I made her feel bad a lot, and I, I found that the worst thing that I could do was say that I wish I was dead because she didn't like that. But it was a real thought that crossed my mind because I didn't feel good about myself at all.
He certainly has gotten better, but it's been, it hasn't been all sweetness and light. It's been tough. But I think that for me personally, it's been a journey that, I certainly didn't ask for, but we've done it together.
It's one of the most daunting things to say to someone, you've had all these injuries, physical and cognitive and behavioral, and now you get to try to tackle the toughest set of symptoms you've ever had with a compromise in your intellect or your memory or your attention or your endurance or your speed. But we still want you to try to get it fixed, and we want you to take a productive place back in society and not be overwhelmed by what's happened to you.
People may seem to have problems with get up and go. They have difficulty with initiating activities so that they look lazy. And it's not that they're lazy, it's that the brain is not giving them that impetus to do what needs to be done. They can tell you what they have to do, but getting to do it is a whole nother story.
While you're doing that, I'm going to see that the soup is cooking.
Okay.
As Alan relearns the tasks of everyday living, there can be frustrating moments.
I think I usually cope by, banging my head against it or getting into it more to see if I can figure it out. And sometimes I can, and sometimes I think, well, I guess I'll try that later.
Well, sometimes, yeah, you just walk away from it. We do a timeout, and you just kind of walk away from it for a while.
And sometimes I get tired of walking.
Yeah. But I can usually tell, and I'll come in and distract them.
For the family member, my main message to them in the course of the recovery is patience. Is patience. Recovery from traumatic brain injury takes time and takes treatment, but oftentimes time.
Sometimes the families kind of take it on the chin because all of the frustration and the maybe anger or disappointment that people have is sometimes directed at the people that they feel safest with, which are their family members. And it's important for families, I think, to understand this, to remember that a family's job is to provide love and support and to help someone get professional help, but not to do it all by themselves. They can't carry the whole world on their shoulders. They have to get help.
This is the timer right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Did I say 8 minutes?
Yeah. Ask for help. Ask people, ask your friends. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of your survivor, your loved one.
Recovery is possible, and I think that's important for everybody to know that as hard as it is, people get better. People get a lot better, and life doesn't stop after a brain injury.
Join a group when you're ready. You have to be ready to do that. Join a survivor group, or in a support group rather, to have other people to talk to. You have to talk to other people.
To be exposed to other people and to learn about their injury and be able to compare it to other people. I mean, I think that's been very helpful to me.
Traumatic brain injury is an injury that really affects the whole person. It affects everything they do because your brain is who you are.
I just wanted to prove to myself and the world that I was still that I still had something upstairs. So I read and played chess and just did mental things to try to prove to myself that I could still do it.
20 years ago, Chi Navar was a high school honors student in Eastern Washington.
I was riding in a car with my friend, and we were coming back from Lake Chelan, headed to Wenatchee. And my friend bent down to get a tape, drifted into the oncoming lane, and went off into the rough on the oncoming side, swerved back into the lane to hit the oncoming car head on.
He was airlifted to the trauma center in Seattle for surgery, then taken to Seattle Children's Hospital for 3 months of rehabilitation.
That was occupational, speech, physical, all the therapies. And I was partially paralyzed. I think they call it hemiparesis on the left side. So I had to learn how to use my left side again. Had to learn how to talk again, learn how to walk again, learn how to eat again. So there's a lot, there's a lot to do.
Chi returned to high school and graduated with his class. As a student, it was discouraging to be intelligent, but not always be able to demonstrate it.
It was the typical symptoms of head injury, like executive function problems, like organizing and keeping track of things and focusing, stuff like that. And I mean, I would intellectually know stuff, memory permitting, but the actual application of those skills was holding me back.
The physical effects of Chi's brain injury are nearly invisible now, and that makes it harder for other people to understand his ongoing concerns.
As you walk down the street, nobody looks at you and says, oh, he's head injured. No wonders he's, on Social Security disability. Why doesn't he have a job? He seems fine to me. And that's part of the insidiousness of head injury, is that, nobody can look at you and says, oh, well, he's got a broken leg. There's no way he could be a construction person anymore. And it's just, nobody really knows where your problems are or what your problem is.
Chi began studying philosophy to help him move on and accept his new life.
If a person can learn the idea of accepting their difficulties, I think reduces down their emotional difficulties with the injury. At the same time, acceptance by no means means to not to participate in activities that might, including treatment, that might improve their situation too.
Really, it's just making a new life for yourself. It may sound dumb, it may sound glib, but you just find you're not the same person. So you got to find things that interest you now, not the things that interest you at another time or another person or as another person or before.
There's one person I can point out that I worked with some time ago who was a fisherman and a fly fisherman, and his great delight before he had his brain injury was to tie flies, and they were beautiful works of art. After he had his brain injury, he no longer had the use of one of his arms, and it was very difficult for him to see what he was going to do in life because he could no longer work. There were many things he couldn't do, and he couldn't tie flies. But one day, I walked into my office and went into an examining room, and the entire office was filled with canvases, beautiful oil paintings all around the office. And he was smiling and sitting there and saying, "Look, I love to paint." So he found a new outlet that was just wonderful for his creativity, and was a changed man.
With help, there's more to life after a brain injury than simple survival. It's always a new beginning.
You just keep going moment by moment or day by day, and you dare to think that what you used to think was impossible, it might be possible for you to do if you just keep going.